Okay, let's unpack something truly fascinating today. How much depth can a seemingly simple story actually hold? Today, we're diving deep into a really interesting stack of sources, exploring some very ancient parables from Matthew 13. Our mission really is to pull out the core insights for you and maybe some surprising perspectives from these powerful allegories.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating here, I think, is how these timeless stories just keep prompting deep reflection. Our material offers, multiple lenses, different ways to view really fundamental questions about life, faith, purpose. They still feel incredibly relevant.
Definitely. So let's start with the first one, the parable of the sower and the soils. You've got a sower throwing seed, and it lands on 4 different kinds of ground. Some by the roadside, just gets trampled or eaten. Some on rocky ground, shallow soil. Some among thorns, which choke it out. And then finally, some hits that good, rich soil.
Right. And the seed, our sources are pretty clear. This represents the heavenly word, God's message, or Jesus' teachings. But the key insight, the thing that keeps coming up, is how it's received. The Creator's requirement consistently is fruit. And this isn't just like passive listening, it's active understanding. It means good deeds, showing you truly belong. Only that good soil consistently bears this fruit. That's what proves it's the righteous ground.
So it's not like the seed's fate is sealed from the start. Our sources seem to stress that even the thorny ground, it still has a chance to actively fight back against those worldly worries, the greed, and actually produce something. It really challenges you, doesn't it? Makes you think, okay, what kind of soil am I? How am I really responding to the wisdom I hear? Okay, moving on then. The parable of the weeds. This one's interesting. Good seed, sown by God in his field. Standard enough. But then an enemy sneaks in, plants weeds right there among the good stuff. And the decision. Just let them both grow together until the harvest.
Yeah, and this brings up a big question about judgment, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Our research explains the field as, could be the world, or maybe the church specifically, a place where good and bad, righteous and wicked, they just coexist. The commentary suggests God actually delays judgment. He holds off protecting the righteous until the very end. The weeds, those are the ones causing sin, lawlessness. Even if they, say all the right things, outwardly confess, they won't inherit God's kingdom. It's a really powerful picture of deferred justice, waiting until that final harvest for the separation.
Right. Patience, but also an eventual reckoning. Okay, now let's get into 2 parables often grouped together, the mustard seed and the leaven. And this is where it gets really interesting because our sources present, some very different ways to look at these, almost conflicting sometimes.
Yeah.
They both talk about small beginnings, big impact, but how you read them, that changes everything.
Exactly. Take the mustard seed. Starts tiny, smallest of seeds, right? Grows into this large tree. Birds come and nest in it. So one view. Jesus plants the word. It grows into the global church, the birds. Believers finding refuge. Makes sense. But the alternative view, looking at maybe some historical context or other ways symbols were used, it suggests maybe Satan plants a seed like a false leader or corrupt teaching in a church that grows huge, dominates. And those birds, they could symbolize Satan's own forces, maybe corrupting influences or even oppressive powers finding shelter there. The whole meaning pivots on how you interpret birds. It's fascinatingly ambiguous.
Wow. Okay, so the symbol itself is debated. What about the leaven?
Similar story, different metaphor. A woman puts leaven or yeast into flour. The whole batch rises. Again, one view. The leaven is the word, spreading its positive influence through everything. But the other view, actually maybe the more common one historically, sees leaven negatively. It sees it as false doctrine spreading silently, corrupting the whole batch, the church. This interpretation often points to other places in the Bible where leaven is used negatively, like Paul warning about the leaven of malice and evil. So again, the symbol's connotation flips the whole parable's meaning. Context is everything.
That really shows how interpretation isn't always straightforward. The same image, birds or leaven, can point in completely opposite directions depending on the lens. Okay, finally, let's look at the parable of the hidden treasure. Short one, but powerful. Someone stumbles upon treasure buried in a field, hides it again, then, totally overjoyed, goes and sells everything they own just to buy that field.
Yes, and our sources give us 2 main ways to read this. Both emphasize immense value, incredible sacrifice. Perspective 1. Jesus is the one finding the treasure. And the treasure. Maybe it's us, the believers. Or maybe specific witnesses, martyrs, or even all of creation that's obedient to him. And he sells all he has, which points pretty clearly to his sacrifice on the cross to reclaim it, to secure that treasure.
Okay, that's one view. What's the counter? The other view suggests you, the listener, the believer, you're the one finding the treasure. Okay. And the treasure you find, it's Jesus himself. or the kingdom of God. So selling all means giving up everything else in your life joyfully to embrace him and his way. Either interpretation, though, the core message is crystal clear. Ultimate value, profound sacrifice, total commitment. It's undeniable. What a journey through just a few short stories. It's really quite something how much these ancient parables can still, speak to us. These deep dives, they're not just about history or theology, are they? They're invitations. Invitations to rethink our own foundations.
Absolutely. And seeing these varied interpretations side by side, it reminds us that wisdom often involves looking from multiple angles, engaging critically with these deep truths. There's always another layer, isn't there, if you're willing to dig a bit deeper?
So here's something to think about as you go about your day, a final thought. What hidden treasure might you be overlooking, right there in plain sight? And, maybe more importantly, what would you be willing to give up to make it truly yours?